So now we want to review how to find critical z-values. Review, you say? Yes, that's because you already learned how to do this in Chapter 7. Now, how so? Well, critical z-values are two z-values that are on opposite sides of the center, which is 0, and they're on symmetric opposite sides. So they're actually the same numerical value, but they're going to have opposite signs. One will be positive and one will be negative. So there are two critical values, one on the right and one on the left, positive and negative. All right, now what's this whole alpha over 2 thing? Well, if you look at the way this is drawn, your confidence level is the area in the center, right? And this whole curve is a probability curve, so the whole thing makes 1. Alpha over 2 and alpha over 2 are the area in the two tails. So together, let me just make a note right here. Alpha is the area in both tails put together. Each tail on its own is alpha over 2, and that's just what the little notation means. So don't stress about the alpha over 2. It's not going to mean much for us. The other thing to remember, I'm just going to put a little recall here from one page earlier, is that alpha and the C level are complements. That will be very key for us. We just said this on the previous page. It means that they add to 1. Okay, now how do we do this? Well, you go to StatCrunch, Stat Calculator's Normal. You're going to click Between, and then you're going to enter your confidence level over here. And of course, you're always going to keep, always, the mean of 0, the standard deviation of 1. Always, right? Always. 0 and 1, no matter what for z-scores. Okay, so let's actually do an example, and this will all become hopefully clear. So we're going to determine the critical z-values for each of these cases, show an accurately shaded, labeled, and graph, and all the work. Okay, so we start off with the confidence of 0.95. So what that means is that the middle area in the center has to be 0.95, like that. So I'm going to label that center as 0.95. I'm going to have each side drawn. Beautiful. So now I'm going to follow the instructions up above. I'm going to go to StatCrunch. All right, so let me pull up StatCrunch. I've already logged in. So I'm going to go to Open StatCrunch. And then I'm going to go to Stat Calculators Normal. I'm going to click Between because it tells me to do that in the instructions. That's very key. So you click Between. You always put 0 and 1, always. And then over here, you're going to put your confidence level, which in our case was 0.95. And we click Compute, and we get those numbers. So let me write that down, that little phrase there. Okay. So when I go back to my paper, right, that's the work, right? I'm showing the work. Now the answers are actually this value here and this value here. They are the negative z alpha over 2 and the positive z alpha over 2 respectively. The more common way to write it is plus or minus z alpha over 2 is plus or minus 1.96. There you go. All right, let's do it again. So this time, I'm giving us the alpha. Ooh, okay. So we can't just use that, right? Because it tells us in the instructions we have to have confidence over here, right? We can't just use the alpha, right? It says right here, confidence level. So we have to find the confidence. So remember, alpha and the C level are complements. So what will that mean? That will mean that if I have the alpha, the C level is 1 minus the alpha. So it's 1 minus 0.005, which is 0.995. You can go check it in Desmos if you don't believe me, but it's true. Okay, so now I'm going to shade, but I want to shade more than I did. Up here, I'm only shading 95%. I want to shade 99.5%. So I'm going to shade even more, even further out. And I'm going to label this 0.995. This is negative z alpha over 2. This is positive z alpha over 2. And then I'm just going to go to StatCrunch. I'm going to get a number is less than or equal to z, which is less than or equal to a number, equals 0.995. I'm going to go put that 995 in, and it's going to tell me the answer. Well, answers. So there's two of them. Right? There's two critical values, one on the left and one on the right. And there we go. We get 2.807. So negative 2.807 on the left, positive 2.807 on the right. So plus or minus z alpha over 2 is plus or minus 2.807. There we have it. That's how to find your critical z values with StatCrunch.